Welcome to the beautiful town of Świnoujście on the northwest coast of Poland for event number 6 on the World Strongman Cup of 2004. Świnoujście is a perfect and original location to host a strongman event. The sport is very popular in Poland, and this town's historic port on the Baltic Sea provides a good competition venue. Add to that the miles of sandy beaches for the strongman fans to relax, and the event is set up for success. In fact, we couldn't keep the competitors away from the beach either.
My name's Spencer Hyland, 32 years of age, 6'1", 21.5 stone, competing out of England. It's been said that strongmen are the decathletes of the strength world. A good strongman doesn't necessarily excel in any of the strength disciplines, so to speak, but holds a certain level across the board. I think that's what makes a good strongman.
So it was down to the port and the quayside where the strongmen familiarised themselves with the competition area and the ferry on which many of the events would take place. A very impressive crowd were there to greet the athletes. Glenn Ross, the daddy, looking for a return to form. Ravisvits of Latvia, the World Cup leader. Tarmo Mitt of Estonia, the tallest man on the tour. Ralph Baer, the showman from Austria. Igor Pedan, the winner at the last event in Bad Haring. Richard Danis of Hungary also performed well in Austria. And Gregor Peszka, the Pole, the crowd favourite. Followed by compatriot in the cowboy hat, Tiberius Kowalczyk of Poland, another new man to the tour. Alongside Spencer Hyland from Great Britain, his first competition also. Milan Jovanovic of Serbia and Montenegro, consistent performer this year. Alongside Boris Milosevic, he needs to make an impression on this tour. So the crowd ready, massed on the quayside for the start of this latest event. And the first discipline, the boat pull. And yes, you guessed it, it's another heavyweight, 60 tons of sailing boat to be hauled by rope, bare hands across this marina. And this really is going to be a massive demand. All of the competitors, I'm sure, will choose to sit right back down on their haunches using that plank of wood that is across the gangplank to try and get some purchase on the rope and start this boat moving. Gregor Peszka then of Poland, the crowd really screaming for the old warhorse, and look at the effort that he's having to put in there. Tremendous demand on the lower back, but to be honest, if you've got no grip, then you're not going to get the boat moving. And Peszka putting in a great effort in front of the home crowd. There goes the whistle. Slack in the rope, dropped into the water, and that's an additional factor that maybe the competitors hadn't considered. Spencer Hyland, 32-year-old from the Midlands in the UK. Gets himself down, he's let the rope slip already, so he made up the slack, went for a big pull first off, and now he's got to fight his way back in, and Spencer Hyland capable of doing that. He's an enormous man. This sort of strength event really suits him. But as you heard at the top of the show, it's not about excelling in one area, it's about being an all-rounder if you're going to be a strongman champion. And Hyland, after that terrible start, is giving a very good account of himself. The speedboat marks the line that the competitors have to pull to. Hyland's still struggling. He's putting so much effort into the pull on the rope that he's just losing his grip from time to time. And because the rope is being pulled on one side all the way through, it really does put the right side of the body under tremendous stress. Well, it's a wonderful crowd at this fantastic venue in Świnoujście. And next up, the big man, Tarmo Mitt, just under 2 meters tall. He's an absolute character, this guy. Your typical gentle giant. And it's these types of events that Mitt doesn't particularly get on with. Anything that gives him a problem in terms of his height, he does tend to struggle, but this is much better than his truck pull results so far this year. And that long, leaning pullback, he's got the extra leverage over all the other competitors, and he's making it tell. So good effort from Mitt. He's puffing and blowing towards the end of this one. But the Estonian has enjoyed the boat pull, I think. Is that a smile? Or maybe a grimace from Mitt. But at the end of that, he's got to be pleased. Good performance. Nice opener here in Poland for Tarmo Mitt. And now one of the guys that challenged last year for the top spot on the 2003 World Strongman Cup. And this year he's been just as consistent. Ralf Behr, the Austrian, and the first competitor we've seen to actually stay off of the deck. Keeping his backside in the air, doing all his work with the upper body, and that is a tremendous demand. But Behr convinced this is the way to do it, and this is all brute force from the man who holds that unusual record for bending frying pans, believe it or not. Sounds easy, but it is impressive when you see him do it. Just takes hold of the frying pan and bends it into shreds of metal. And that strength being transferred very well to this event. He clearly has an excellent grip on the rope. And although he's flagging towards the end, that's a great performance from Behr. And as all the competitors do, immediately over to check things with the judges. So the last man up that can really challenge here, Polish lad, Tiberius Kowalczyk. He of the cowboy hat and the flash hairdo. Almost a Mohican there for Tiberius. And needless to say, the whole of his local gym have turned out for this one. But it remains to be seen whether he can compete with the class of some of the other athletes. Well, he's giving it his best shot, but I think he's got too much slack in the rope there. Hasn't quite kept a consistent tension on the boat. You see there the bow in the rope dropping each time. Well, that's a lot of pull, so the initial surge back from Kowalczyk is actually just to unslacken the rope, get it tight. But I think Kowalczyk has realised that, and a quick hand-over-hand movement from him has got the tension back into the rope. And he flew over that last phase. And Kowalczyk has given an excellent account of himself in this opening event. Both he and Hyland, the newcomers, have shown the old boys that there's other people out there, and Kowalczyk takes the first one. 11 points in the bag for the Pole over Ralf Behr of Austria. Onto the Conan wheel, this becoming a familiar event now. Staff Igor Pedan, the man that is built for strongman. He is a bull. Absolutely enormous quads. And what I've liked about Pedan over the last few competitions is he knows where his strengths are. He gives everything in those areas to win, and then just tries to make consistent performances for the rest of the time. But slightly below par for Pedan. Now, Ravitsvits is the most consistent performer on the World Strongman Cup in 2004, and courtesy of that, he's the World Tour leader. Marches it out round the first phase of the roulette wheel. Grimacing, trying to cut the crowd noise out. Just focus on what is there. But he's starting to lose grip now. He's having to lean right back to support it. And he's got far enough to beat Ross's distance. Good performance from Vidzis. Tarmo Mitt doesn't look happy because he's not. Again, his height counts against him in this event. The only positive thing is his stride length. If he can keep the weight up off the ground, his stride length is so enormous. It's like he's working about 2/3 of the other competitors. And he's plodding on nice and steadily, coming through to that second completion of his second rotation. And Mitt has really turned it on in Poland. This is easily the best start that the Estonian has ever had on the World Strongman Cup. Barely able to lift his arm at the end of that to acknowledge the cheers of the crowd. Now the man in the cowboy hat. 25 years old, 125 kilograms. Tiberius Kowalczyk of Poland. And away he goes. I think he found that just a little heavier than he was expecting. but he's determined to treat this like a sprint. Now that's fine because you travel round quickly, but the problem is you can use up the energy in the muscles so fast that all of a sudden it just goes flat and you're struggling. Well, he forces it out, and Kowalczyk has come here and really posted his intentions, and the Cowboy has done a superb job so far. Kowalczyk takes his second event, second 11 points. Tarmo Mitt in second place, going really well. Now, this isn't your conventional wheelbarrow because there happens to be a car attached to it. And that's about where the comparison ends with the wheelbarrow, and Tarmo Mitt already, his strapping has slipped, he's dropped it. Kowalczyk started brilliantly here in Poland, with almost his entire gym out cheering him on. Well, Mitt's given it another go, but as you can see, this is just the wrong height for him. And despite such a fantastic opening, Mitt, I think he's going to throw in the towel here, and Kowalczyk hasn't got much further. So finally, the man who must have come here to Svanussi and thought, wow, this strongman is easy, he's now finding out what it's about. He's an immensely long arms. This does Tarmo Mitt, and you can't help thinking that the guys with the bigger levers, it just doesn't suit them. Oh, full marks to Kowalczyk. He doesn't give up, does he? And I guess that's the way to be on Strongman, to not know when you're beaten. Kowalczyk wins that one against Mitt, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win overall. Igor Pedan and Ravis Vidsis next. Now, Pedan, you have to think this is going to suit him. Although Vidsis surprises us time in, time out. Vidsis, though, after an initial good drive, slowed down slightly. Pedan, surprisingly, has dropped it down, and this seems to be the way the competitors are approaching this. Maybe getting 5 or 6 metres, stopping, starting. There's the finish line. Vidsis has to stop again, so Pedan this time has the chance. No, he's fallen short. Well, they've both gone further than Kowalczyk, and over the line with a terrible piece of parking goes Ravis Vidsis.
There is a break. 63% there.
So the next discipline, carry and drag, exactly what it says. You carry a very large, very awkward object straight down the course, and if you can get it over the line, as it looks as if Spencer Highland is, then immediately you move on to the anchor. You're not expected to lift that, just drag it. But the problem is this surface is pretty rutted. It's like a pebble dash concrete, and the anchor scoring a mark as it's dragged along. And finally, Spencer Highland has turned in a good performance here, and he's pleased about that one. Good combination of strength and speed from the Englishman. But the rain is coming down now. It's not good conditions for these remaining athletes. The weather has changed very quickly. Blown in off the Baltic Sea. And Svanussi, having looked so beautiful and picturesque for the first day and a half, now definitely looks like we're in the Baltic region. And Vidsis with a good performance nonetheless. Last little drag, gets the anchor across. And I think you know what his feelings were about that, as Glenn Ross decides to have a little dance in the rain. I can tell you Glenn Ross was singing as well, entertaining the crowd, and luckily for the competitors, just a short break to try and let the cloud cover clear. And Richard Danis was able to benefit from far better conditions. Again, this is the sort of event Danis likes. Has to keep that anchor going, though. He's running out of steam and lost valuable seconds at the end there. Danis will be disappointed with that because it wasn't quite the professional finish he was looking for. Now, Pedan, winner last time out, has been a bit average in Svanussi so far, and such a talented competitor, wants to get his form back together. Well, making easy work of both these objects. This is a good run from Pedan, and he too has had the same problem as Vidsis. He's gone over, and he knows that that has probably cost him the event and some valuable points. Now, Tarmo Mitt doesn't want to have to bend down that far to pick up such a huge object, and has never enjoyed anything to do with dragging. But luckily, this anchor is on the right side of the weight for him. And the big Estonian, you can imagine him out there in the fields, can't you? Dragging a plough along. And that's what he's done, got the anchor over the line. So good work, very good work from Mitt, and this has been his competition so far, really. Now Ralph Baer hooks his arm through the support, reaches out wide to that large oblong hollow to get hold of that. And that's very good technique from Ralph Baer. Now, how quickly can he get onto the anchor? Decides not to wrap it round and just go for the grip. I said Ralph Baer had a big grip. And he's done this very well indeed. Ralph Baer has to force it across the line. And there it is. Ralph Baer takes the 11 points ahead of what must be a slightly disappointed Tarmo Mitt, because that was a good effort from him. On then to the log lift. 120 to 190 kilograms, that's the range within which the athletes are working, but it is possible to establish a world record in this event. And in at 160 kilograms comes Milan Jovanovic of Serbia and Montenegro. This is strictly powerlifting territory. But it's a difficult object, and at the moment Milan Jovanovic has that balanced on his windpipe. He doesn't want that there for too long, and that's cost him. So doesn't quite get the jerk phase right. Out will Spencer Highland of England Fair. That is a very good lift at 160. And he has every right to celebrate. 28-year-old Latvian and tour leader Ravitsvitsis to stay in this competition. He too makes easy work of 160 kilograms. Wow, this is quality powerlifting. What a celebration. Well, not quite a PB for Vidzis, but he celebrated like it was. Pedan, the Russian, very easy lift for him. He looks good. So on to 170 kilograms. And that 10 kilogram extra has made all the difference to Highland, making heavy work of this. And at the moment, no effort at all almost on the jerk phase, and Highland has to call it a day. So he doesn't make the 170 kilograms. The referee's confirming that he's out of the competition as Vitsis moves on. Now, he was good at 160, but I would say there were some flaws there with his lift. And not surprisingly, 170 proves too much. Pedan, who lifted the 160 log as if it wasn't there, he too copes with 170 with ease. And Pedan is looking better and better. But what about this? Talk about psyching your other competitors out. Glenn Ross hasn't even come into the competition now, so a fresh Irishman, the daddy, is in trouble here. But what a comeback from Glenn Ross. Oh, that's the way to do it. He must have been worried, though. He would have gone out of the competition without recording a lift there. But on to 180 now. Ross is the first one up, ahead of Pedan, the only two men left in the competition. And this is burning up valuable energy for Glenn Ross. You need to get it onto your chest clean straight away. Oh, it's a wonderful piece of lifting. Well, that was constructed. It wasn't classic stuff from Ross, it was constructed. And that kicks the weight to just show who is the daddy. You've got that feeling, haven't you, that Pedan's got a little bit extra in the tank. And he has. Oh, my goodness. So 180 kilograms breezed past by Pedan. We move on to 190. This to equal the world record. Ross again struggles to get that first phase onto his chest. But such is the strength and balance of the man that he just goes back to the drawing board, tries to construct it again. And this time, no hope. So Ross not exactly crashes out, but drops out at 190 kilograms, and it's all down to Igor Perdan. If he lifts this, if the 26-year-old Russian, who's gone up to 135 kilograms in body weight now, he really is enormous. If he gets this, oh, just misses. He was so close, couldn't quite get the left elbow locked out. And that was nearly a world record from Igor Perdan. I think we're going to see more from this young Russian. But he's done enough to stay in, but not enough to beat Glenn Ross. And Glenn Ross will feel slightly fortunate there. But courtesy of Countback, he takes the 11 points ahead of Perdan. But once again, on this tour, Ravis Vidzis shows that consistency is the key. And Vidzis takes the event and takes 40 points on into the World Tour standings. Ravis Vidzis leads ahead of Ralph Baer. Glenn Ross is in third. Congratulations then to Baer, another third place for him. Doesn't look overly impressed. That sight set on the top. Perdan, the emerging star on this tour, the 26-year-old Russian in second. But Ravis Vidzis, the Latvian, is the winner here in Svanushi.